And we can add it to everything. We can add it to salad dressing. We're going to add it to ketchup. We're going to add it to children's school lunches. We're going to add it, obviously, to sodas. And we're going to make people insatiable. We're going to make their bodies and their brains think that they're preparing for winter that's never coming.
Hello and welcome to the Doge and Maha News channel. My name is Chris. In today's video, we're going to focus on Make America Healthy Again. And we're going to watch a video with Dr. Casey Means on the Joe Rogan show. And she is going to explain the impact of high fructose corn syrup. I'm pretty excited to learn about this. Let's check it out.
67% of children's calories now are ultra processed foods. These means foods that come from a factory made by food scientists, not just processed, ultra processed, the highest form of processing, 67% of calories. Then
67% of the calories that kids consume today are ultra processed foods. That's a lot. I had no idea.
You go to the 1970s and we have the advent of high fructose corn syrup, which, as Callie talks about, this preceded some of the mergers, but high fructose corn syrup is a weapon of mass destruction that basically food scientists used an understanding about hibernating animals like bears who fructose is one of the only types of calories where instead of making you feel satiated, it makes you more hungry. And this is evolutionarily, and we knew this.
Oh, that's really interesting. So fructose doesn't make you feel full, it makes you feel hungrier. So you're going to want to eat more and more and more of it.
In the fall, when animals are preparing for hibernation and they start eating fructose-rich berries, they need to put on a ton of fat for winter. And so there's a feed-forward mechanism with fructose where it actually gets the bears to be hungry and even violent to outcompete other animals to get as many berries as possible in a short period of time to lay 3D print fat for winter. So you have the scientists understanding this and say, hey, we can make liquid fructose 1,000 times more potent than the fructose you'd find in berries. Same molecule, but in higher concentration. And we can add it to everything. We can add it to salad dressing. We're going to add it to ketchup. We're going to add it to children's school lunches. We're going to add it, obviously, to sodas. And we're going to make people insatiable. We're going to make their bodies and their brains think that they're preparing for winter that's never coming.
Wow. That is crazy. So the scientists actually knew this. It would make us more hungry and hungry and hungry. Even though we eat more and more and more of it, we're still hungry. We're still desiring more and more food. Oh, wow. High fructose corn syrup. I had no idea. And it's going to cause us like a bear to put on weight for the winter. That is never coming, but we continue to put on weight, be hungry. And she said it's like 10,000 times more concentrated than the natural berries. And we're just like drinking this with our sodas and with our energy drinks and probably with a lot of our coffee drinks as well. Plus all the food that it's in everything. Like she said, ketchup and salad dressing, everything. Wow.
And there has been research that shows that high fructose corn syrup is associated with violence, ADHD in kids, all of these different things.
Can I just one thing about the fructose corn syrup? I'm so glad you brought that up because I didn't know that there was a unique way that it makes it more addictive and kills your satiety.
Oh, yeah.
Or increases it, or kills it rather. Because I'd always thought that sugar was sugar. And this is one of the arguments that a lot of people that are poo-pooing all this stuff, like, oh, this is nonsense, sugar is sugar.
Yeah.
Like, there's no difference between the sugar in high fructose corn syrup versus the sugar in an apple.
No, it's really interesting. There's two amazing books on this. Richard Johnson from University of Colorado wrote Nature Wants Us to Be Fat, and then David Perlmutter wrote Drop Acid. Both books are about a molecule called uric acid, which is unique to fructose metabolism. So when fructose is metabolized in the body, not like glucose, it creates uric acid, which creates oxidative stress and mitochondrial dysfunction in the brain and the body, that if you have mitochondrial dysfunction, you're not going to be able to process sugars to energy, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell. So you break the mitochondria with the excess fructose overloading the mitochondria with uric acid. And then what happens? You can't turn sugars to energy. So what do? You turn sugars to fat. So
Wow, that's really interesting. I did not know that. So that fructose creates some kind of an acid, and that acid prevents the sugars from being converted into energy. Instead, it gets converted into fat. So the high fructose corn syrup seems to be making that issue even worse. Wow, that's really interesting.
Start 3D printing you start 3D printing fat because you break the mitochondria with excess fructose. And on top of that, the mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress when happening in the brain is what may inspire the violence and the ADHD and all that stuff to make the bears manic so they get as much berries as possible. This is what's happening in every kid in every classroom in America now.
That's the truth. It seems like kids are just wild. They're crazier and crazier and crazier. I mean, I was a wild kid. I mean, I did some crazy things and whatnot, but I don't think I was manic like you see now. Kids just like blowing up on you and just overreaction like crazy. And it could be just related to the food. The high fructose corn syrup is causing this reaction potentially in all of our brains and really impacting them, especially when they're so young. Oh, man.
And so that's kind of some of the biology very simply about what's happening with fructose.
So the apple is probably a bad example, but like cane sugar. Is cane sugar fructose based?
Well, it's generally is going to have sucrose, which is going to have some amount of glucose and fructose. But this is the thing about fruit is that we have 40 trillion cells and we have the ability to clear uric acid and we have the ability to process fructose in a physiologic amount. We're never going to have the uric acid increasing and overloading the mitochondria if we're eating an apple. It's when you're eating 20, 30 times the fructose that an apple has and you're literally pouring it down that all of a sudden, imagine you get this huge rise in uric acid in the body and other things that are happening. And that's when it overwhelms. So it's a bit of that dose makes the poison because our body has the ability to excrete toxins. Our body has the ability to deal with some heavy metals. Our body has the ability to probably clear some level of glyphosate, but we can't clear all of it all the time, 24 hours a day in 100 times the quantity of all these things together. And the research and the evidence-based thing and this cult of the science, they love to ignore that. The idea of synergistic effects of this overwhelming breaking of our cellular resources is just conveniently forgotten because we study things in isolation. That's literally the definition of how a double-blind placebo-controlled study happens. It's one variable, and one thing that you're testing.
You can't do it on
food. That doesn't make sense. We live in a toxic stew.
Wow, I don't know about you guys, but I found that to be really interesting. Like Joe Rogan, I've said that or heard that many times. Sugar is sugar, right? What's the big deal? It's a Coca-Cola or it's an apple. Of course, a Coke would have a lot more sugar in it or a lot more fructose or corn syrup and whatnot. But you always hear that thing that, well, sugar is sugar. And obviously it's not. Here it is, high concentrated. We're drinking it in our soda. We're drinking it in our energy drinks. We're drinking it in our coffee drinks because they're not coffee. It's full of those flavored syrups and things like that. And I'm not going to pretend to fully understand what she was talking about, something about the acid levels rising and causing us to be more angry and more aggressive. But you see that, right? I see that as well. So it's really interesting, and how our body, instead of converting it, instead of converting this sugar or this fructose into energy, it starts to convert it into fat because it thinks we are getting ready for winter all the time, even in the summer. As I'm learning more about the food industry and the pharma industry, I am definitely making sure I'm eating a lot better. I'm staying away from boxed foods. I'm staying away from things that have sugars in them, like even like ketchup and ranch dressing and anything like that is processed foods. I'm trying to avoid it as much as I can. Of course, I'm not perfect and I have cravings for things. I'm a chocoholic. I love chocolate and it's really hard for me to stay away from that. But I know that if I do that, I'm going to feel better. And I do feel better when I do that. And I've lost a little bit of weight. So it's a good thing. So this is an awareness thing, I think, for everyone. Tell me in the comments below, were you aware of the impact of high fructose corn syrup on your body in the way that she described it, especially when we we are consuming it in a drink that is 20, 30, 40 times more concentrated than we would if we were just eating an apple or some other fruit like that. I don't know. I just think this is something that everyone in America needs to hear about. If people don't know about this, they need to know about it. Our kids are just being inundated with this kind of food and this kind of drinks. And like she said, 67% of the calorie intake of most American kids is ultra processed foods that is likely to contain a high percentage of this high fructose corn syrup. So, boy, it's definitely impacting our kids as well as us as adults. So please share this video with friends, share this video with neighbors, get the word out. Let's pass the word. I do have the link to the full Joe Rogan video clip in the notes below if you want to check out the entire video with Callie and Casey Means. A lot of information, and I'm going to share a few more chunks from this interview. But man, I'm learning a lot. Also, if you're interested in Casey's book, I do have her book, a link to her book down below as well. So please check that out as well. And every day I'm creating new videos with new information regarding the Make America Healthy Again movement. And if that's something that you're interested in, you're going to want to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you are notified every time I post a new video. Let's stay informed. Let's learn about big food and big pharma and how they are basically poisoning us, and let's learn what we can do and to make our families healthy again. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next video.